Hey there, scientists. Today, you are going to be able to connect the concepts of animal structures, function, and informational processing with the career of an exceptional dog trainer or a dog whisperer. Welcome back, scientists. I am Mr. Steier, and this is Mr. Steier's classroom, and this is cricket. Today, we are talking about dogs. Today, we are talking about the career of a dog whisperer and how you need to use all of your scientific knowledge in order to be able to care for different animals. Let's do this, cricket. All right, scientists. So I know that many of you have pets at home, and I know that many of you are aware of your pet's needs. And I also know that many of you have heard my dog on different videos running around, barking, jingling, doing all sorts of things. And as a pet owner, one of the things that we have to be aware of is we have to be aware of our pet's senses, which is exactly all of the work that we have been doing as scientists in the last handful of weeks. So think about, how does your pet behave? Are there different times where your pet behaves differently? And when your pet has those behaviors, what things happen for those behaviors to occur? Maybe when the doorbell rings, your pet starts barking crazy. Maybe when some particular person comes to your house, your pet always hides. So when pet owners have these issues, how do they deal with those behavioral situations? Well, lucky for us, we are studying a science career today, and the science career that we are studying is that of a dog whisperer or a dog trainer. So if we look at these pictures right here of Cesar Millan, what do we notice about the way that Cesar is interacting with the dogs? You're right. One of the things that I notice is that the man is totally surrounded by the dogs. He's got his hands on them. He's low to the ground. He's touching their faces. He is right near all of these dogs. And I also notice that it sure seems to me that if I observe like a scientist, these dogs, they just keep getting closer and closer to him. So the dogs seem to be responding to him in a positive way. Cesar is called the dog whisperer because he has a special talent for interacting with dogs in ways that improve their behavior. You may have seen his show, The Dog Whisperer, on television before, or if you've watched clips of how he takes care of and manages dogs. And he has a dog psychology center in Los Angeles, California, where he rehabs dogs with severe behavioral problems. So, when we talk about a dog whisperer, what does that job really mean, and what is that work really like? So let's read some more about his center and his work. What can you do if your dog won't behave? Maybe it barks all the time or chews up shoes. Maybe it fights with other dogs or jumps up on strangers. Cesar Millan knows how to fix all of these problems. How? By using dog psychology. Psychology is the science of the mind and behavior. Cesar uses understanding of dogs to connect the behavior of pet dogs that are out of control, but mostly he shows dog owners how to change the way they treat their pets. Here's the surprising fact. When owners correct the way they treat their pets almost always stop misbehaving. So, what is a dog trainer? Well, a dog trainer is someone that has knowledge and skills to interact with dogs in ways that improve their behavior. And now I know that some of you are thinking, hey, I need to start learning some of these things to improve some of the behaviors of my own pets. And these things that Cesar does in order to take care of other people's dogs, they're the same things that we would do because we're altering the senses and then eventually those sense receptors, that brain inside of the pets that we love and care about. Because what we're looking at is dog psychology or pet psychology, which is the science of how the pets behave and how their mind works. Now, as you read through this, we're going to come across a lot of other additional questions, and we're going to have a lot of other additional background information in order to understand what being a dog whisperer is like. What we'll jump into here next is we have a question and answer segment, a Q&A, where National Geographic Science asks a question and then Cesar answers it. So we'll go through this Q&A and we'll learn more about the actual work, the planning, and the behaviors that Cesar is learning about and trying to change. So the first question is, how do you rehabilitate dogs? And his response is, I don't train dogs to respond to commands such as sit or stay. Instead, I try to connect with the dog's mind and natural instincts to help correct unwanted behaviors. So again, we're not talking about like getting the dog to listen. We're talking about the senses inside of the dog to change behaviors. How do you learn about dogs? Cesar's response is, as a child, I spent a lot of time on my grandfather's farm in Mexico. The working dogs on the farm were my true teachers in the art and science of dog psychology. I love to watch dogs play with one another. The more hours I spent watching them, the more questions came into my mind. How did they coordinate in their activities? How did they communicate with one another? The next question, how did you develop your methods of training dogs? My ways of training dogs came directly from my observations of dogs on my grandfather's farm. I interact with the dogs the way they interact with one another. The last question, do you also work with dog owners? Cesar's response, the dog owner often thinks that the problem lies with the dog, but the problem is usually with the way the owner treats his dog. I often say, I rehabilitate dogs, but I train people. My formula is simple. For a balanced, healthy dog, a human must share exercise, discipline, and affection in that order. So when we think about Cesar and his life and his experiences, how did he become a dog trainer? It all started on his grandfather's farm, right? Observing the dogs and how they interact with each other and then mimicking that as a dog trainer. Now, this whole concept of observation is one that as scientists, we have talked about multiple times in all of our lessons this year, is we have to pay close attention, think critically, and look closely in order to see what is happening. And these are things that I have to do with our own dog, with Cricket. I have to figure out why is she behaving the way she is so I can stop some of those behaviors. And a lot of it indeed comes with training my children so they do the right thing so the dog behaves the way that we need our dog to behave. When we talk about Cesar's big 3 things, what were those big 3 things again that a dog needs to be balanced and healthy? They were exercise, discipline, and affection, in that order. Cesar says that he is successful in changing dogs' behavior because he changes the way that the owners treat the dogs. So what's happening is we're focusing on changing the information that the dog is receiving through those sense receptors. We're changing the way the dogs receive information through those sense receptors, and that will in turn change the dog's behavior. So when Cesar says he uses dog psychology to train dogs, he is using his understanding of how which part of the dog works. That's right. He's using his understanding of how the dog's brain works. It's all of those sense receptors going together and figuring out what is happening in the brain. Now, being a dog whisperer, being a dog trainer may be a career that extremely interests you because you love pets or training any pets, horses, cats, iguanas, birds, salamanders, whatever pet it is that you want to train. You really have to take the time to understand what is happening inside of their brain and how can you change their senses to change the way that their brain receives the information. Your job today, the activity that you're going to be working on, is you're going to have to do some inferential thinking, some inferences, and some analyzing. So what you're inferring about is Cesar suggests that some dogs touch a new human or an animal with their noses as a first level of communication. So they touch with their nose. Here's the question. Which sense do you think these dogs are using to explore? And I know that you've witnessed this anytime 2 dogs see each other and they spin around each other and give each other a very unique style of greeting. But why are they doing it? In what senses do you think that they are trying to explore? And then your big analyze question of the week is, imagine a dog barks as a response to a doorbell. And I know some of you are like, yeah, that's my dog. Where are the sense receptors that receive the vibrations from the doorbell, and how does that information get interpreted as a sound? So inside of the dog, where is all of that information getting taken in and getting processed? And if you can understand that, you might be able to change this behavior with your own pet in your own house. Thank you for being with me here today. For myself, and I am Mr. Steier, and on behalf of Cricket, the Doxador, I just want to say again, thank you so much. Enjoy your time with your own pet and thinking about your pet like a scientist. I will see you on the next one. Bye!